Hey again, everyone. I had the pleasure a long time ago of meeting a guy named NARDWUAR the Human Serviette from Canada. Serviette, I think, is another word for napkin. Anyway, he's an interesting character. He's a musician. He's the singer of a band called the Evaporators. And he's also a huge fan of music and most well known for his interviews of musicians and other famous people. He's been doing it since the late 80s. And so I met him over the years, and in 2003, I happened to be in Canada for a couple of events. First, I was coming there for this Mark Mothersbaugh art show that I set up at a gallery called B-Fly Gallery. I was doing art shows for Mark. It was the first year of the 10-year stint I did with Mark doing art shows. And so I was in Vancouver for that, and at the same time, just coincidentally, my friend Thor had this show set up on the same day. Thor and DOA, that's right, punk rock legends from Canada. Thor and DOA were playing at the Kickboxing Championship. Really bizarre, right? And so I was there for both of these events, coincidentally. And when NARDWUAR asked to interview Thor, I put that together for him, and I happened to be right next to Thor as he was being interviewed on the radio, and I got interviewed too. And I had the wherewithal to think about grabbing this child's cassette and recording the interview off the radio onto this, November 28th, 2003. And so I found this in my archives recently. My friend Ian was nice enough to transfer this to digital file status, and I figured, you know what? I've kept this all these years. It's Thor's 50th anniversary this year. NARDWUAR is still kicking, and I thought it's my duty to present this to you on YouTube, and I made a slideshow to go along with it, all pictures relevant to what's being talked about. And so let me tell you, so the Thor interview is most of the recording, and then I do a little thing at the end, and then you'll hear NARDWUAR say that he's going to bring Thor back on, and then in 15 minutes he's going to call Mark and record an interview with him. Well, none of that's on the tape. This tape stops right after my interview and right before Thor gets back on the phone. I don't think we missed much, and I don't think the Mark Mothersbaugh interview is necessarily on the radio that day. I think that maybe NARDWUAR recorded the interview that day. But anyway, this is what we have, 2003, a long time ago. And I'm going to show it to you now. It's kind of like just my own personal scrapbook of this event. But go ahead and look at it, and I hope you have fun. Thor rules. And may the rock and roll gods bless you. Check this out.
And you're listening to CITR Radio. FM 102, Cable 102, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the NARDWUAR the Human Serviette radio show. And you just heard there, Boogie Down Bronx by Man Parrish, featuring Freeze Force all out of New York. And speaking of New York history, on the line right now we have, hello, are you there?
Yes, NARDWUAR.
Who are you?
This is Thor. The guy who battled in the subways in New York City.
Yes, what is your connection to New York City, Thor, and who are you, for people that don't know? Who are you?
I lived on 5th and 9th Street in New York, and knew a lot of great people there. Joey Ramone, you know, all the guys in KISS, and it was a great place to live, and I had a wonderful time and some great battles in New York City.
On the subway? You battled on the subway, didn't you, Thor?
That's right. I was attacked in the subway, and we wrestled and battled, and someone went on the tracks.
And this is not
It wasn't me.
This is not a joke. I mean, you really are Thor. This really is Thor, isn't it?
THOR.
Thor, Canada's heavy metal legend. Were you the first Canadian heavy metal legend, Thor?
I was one of the first guys. In fact, I was the first one to ever do a concept video in Canada.
Okay.
Ever. And yes, I would say I was one of the first heavy metal guys in Canada.
But there really wasn't heavy metal before you, Thor, right? Like
No.
were you like Canada's first kind of heavy metal superstar of like what became heavy metal? I know there were proto-heavy metal groups like Rush and stuff like that happening, but you know what I mean, like first true heavy metal star.
Exactly. I was there before those guys.
And you blended rock and roll, wrestling, weightlifting all together. You were the first guy to do that.
It's arena rock, gladiator rock.
And it's really come full circle, hasn't it, Thor? That's really why you're phoning into the NARDWUAR the Human Serviette radio show here today, aren't you?
Well, let me tell you, I just came back from doing a pre-wrestling, pre-battle with Joey from DOA. We were just training and getting in the ring with the Cave Beast and getting the show ready. So yeah, I just wanted to phone you and tell you all about what's going on.
What is going on? If people do not know, if they're under a rock, if they're in a cave and they don't know that the Cave Beast is coming, what is going on, Thor? This is exciting. This is perhaps one of the greatest things that you've ever undertaken, ever, isn't it?
Yes, I must be mad. I must be insane. When I look in the mirror, I wonder. But let me tell you that come November 29th, that's tomorrow night, we will have the most exciting extravaganza that Vancouver has ever seen, the World Kickboxing Championship. And also, there's going to be absolute mayhem with one of the wildest shows ever of Thor and DOA.
And you're going to be playing right in the ring. You're going to be in the ring, right?
That's right. They have built a special ring to accommodate this extravaganza. It has to be contained. It's so insane.
I know this is tomorrow night at the Pacific Coliseum. What time, how much are tickets, and what entertainment value are you going to get if you go to this thing? Because it isn't just the Thor DOA gig. It's also some kickboxing, and these guys are pretty intense, aren't they?
They're super intense. They're modern-age gladiators, warriors. They go into the stage, basically into the ring, and they battle. And this is for real. Those guys, someone's going to get knocked out. They really put on a phenomenal display of power and strength. And they're very, very serious about what they do, and it's amazing to see.
But as a sort of side note, the side note is like the 56-year-old is wrestling the 26-year-old?
Yes, Jerry Gianca is going to go against a young champion, and it's just to show you what can happen. I mean, there's George Foreman, right? There's others, who can play hockey when they're like 49 or 50, and then there's me who can still rock at my age. I mean, it shows you if you want to keep in shape and think young, then it's timeless, it's ageless.
And this is tomorrow night at the Pacific Coliseum, and it's Thor versus DOA.
That's right.
How is that going to work? Like DOA's your backing band?
Yes, DOA are going to come on and do a set, and then Frank Soda will come on. He's going to explode a TV set off his head, and Annie Kidd will jump on the stage and be the female rock warrior. The Cave Beast will be on there. There's going to be just a show. It's like taking Lord of the Rings into the ring.
And you are Thor, Canada's original.
That's right.
Heavy metal legend, because a few other heavy metal legends have been rearing themselves, namely Frank Soda. I don't quite understand the full history behind Frank Soda and the Imps Thor. How does he connect to you, Thor, Canada's original? Do you like that handle I'm giving you? Canada's original heavy metal legend.
That's right. Hey, I just want to say that years ago, I went up I was touring up in northern British Columbia. I went to a place called Kitimat, and I saw this great guitar player, and his name was Frank Soda, and I said, man, you're great. You can't just stay in Kitimat. You got to come with me to Toronto. So we toured across Canada. I took him to Toronto, and it was about the age of Kiss and Alice Cooper, and we said, hey, let's make this thing even more theatrical, so we formed Thor and the Imps. And on our stage show, while he played guitar, I would pick him up and throw him into the audience, and we developed a lot of our theatrics through that show, Thor and the Imps.
Now, whatever happened to Frank Soda? Did he keep with you? What happened after? He had his own little career, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we became sort of iconic in the area, and then he went on to do his own thing and sign with Quality Records. I signed with RCA Records. We both had our albums and career, and it's gone full circle. Now we're back together again, and we're back together with DOA, and it's just going to be absolute spectacle. What can I say? I promise it'll be something Vancouver's never seen before.
That's tomorrow night. What other promises have you made before Thor in your career?
What other promises?
Yes, like Vancouver is never going to see what they're going to see tomorrow night again. But like, what have you seen before? What
Well, we keep trying to top it. Like, from the last event, you've never seen this and you've never seen that. But this, hey, this one's going to take it another level, a new dimension in rock entertainment.
I mean, you have introduced this new character, the Cave Beast. You're really milking this Cave Beast thing, Thor. What is the Cave Beast? I love the Cave Beast. Just the name. I even saw it quoted like in the Vancouver Sun. You broke a new character here. It used to be you blew up hot water bottles till they exploded, but forget that. That's too easy. Now it's the Cave Beast. The Cave Beast.
Well, I'm always trying to develop something new. Whether it's the Vancouver Millionaires jersey, bringing that back and developing sportswear as a tie-in with rock, or doing movies like Fubar and having videos like Fubar as a super rocker. I just see this whole thing, this whole experience as a multimedia situation, and I want to take it full bore, right? Go full bore at whatever my creativeness can take it, right? And this basically, the Cave Beast is something that's going to be in the next comic, and it's a new character I've developed, and I've always developed characters on stage. I mean, like Annie Kidd's going to be the female warrior, Octavia.
Didn't at one time some of the members of Thin Lizzy or Motorhead attack you on stage, like you had them dress up and they were characters in London?
One time we did a show with them, yes, and we had a battle, and I was hit in the head with a guitar, yes, and went unconscious.
But who was the guy in that Live in London, the Thor Live in London video that attacks you? Was that a guy from Hawkwind or Motorhead?
That's right. It was a guy from Hawkwind. Lemmy actually was originally with Hawkwind before he went and joined Motorhead.
Got busted at the Canadian border.
Yeah, and the guy's name was Nick Turner. And he was the bass player for Hawkwind, and he played Loci, and I battled him on stage.
And you're always introducing these characters, and the Cave Beast is coming. I love the Cave Beast.
Watch out for the Cave Beast. When you see him, it's going to be an awesome experience.
And of course, Thor, you also are going to be bending the steel, right? You love bending the steel. Like you get a chunk of steel and you bend it, right?
I just love doing that. I love sticking my chomps into those, into that heavy metal. But the whole thing is there's going to be new strength feats shown on this one, right? The steel is something I've done a lot, and I just did it on television, so I'm doing all new things. There's going to be bricks smashed to my chest and some other surprises.
And you are Canadian. You are Canadian. You are from Vancouver, Eric Amber High School, Thor.
That's right. Born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia.
And you're playing tomorrow night with DOA at the World Kickboxing Championship at the Pacific Coliseum. What time does that all start, just if people are interested?
Okay, the kickboxing starts at 7:30. The concert will be at 9 o'clock.
Tomorrow night in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we're speaking here to Thor, Canada's original heavy metal legend. And Thor, you were taught a lot of these strength feats by a Canadian, Doug Hepburn, who is, a major force in weightlifting. And I guess he passed away a few years ago. And now you're doing this kickboxing thing, which is kind of, related to weightlifting, sports, that type of thing. What did Doug Hepburn teach you?
Doug Hepburn showed me the secret of the steel, how to bend the steel bars, how to do these strength feats with, it's not just strength, but concentration.
And I want to interrupt for a moment here, Thor. Thor to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you, but
that's fine.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. But I want to say this. It's not just you bending, you also singing too. Like you're singing.
I sing a song. And then we go into the bending of the steel.
Yeah, but you do a whole bunch of songs. Like you are, for people that maybe don't know, you're not just, strength. You actually sing. And I love the way you've kind of returned to your roots, because when I saw you opening for DOA a little while back, you opened with Sweet's Piece of the Action, which you opened in like 1974 in like Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas on the Merv Griffin show.
That's right. I like to think I'm not just a circus performer, right? I mean, these are all additional items that when you do a show, when you go on stage and perform, I feel you got to do a show. You got to do all these exciting things to make it a fun and a special event. When you listen to the CD, you hear the music, and I am a musician first and foremost, and I like to think of myself as that. I think as a songwriter and a musician.
But can we just detour just for a second? You can get into Doug Hepburn in a second, but let's go to Vegas. I know you've told me this numerous times, but please, the Merv Griffin show, Vegas, and what you were wearing.
Okay, well, I was developing the Thor character, and it was in the glitter rock period. So my outfit was very glittery at the time. It was stars and stripes, and I had a hammer that was sort of the beginnings of the hammer I have now, and of course a cape. It was probably more superhero-ish. In fact, at that time in Las Vegas, I flew around the audience, and one time the cable snapped, so I fell 30 feet down onto the stage.
Wow, that's very scary.
Yes.
That's almost very kind of like Bret the Hitman Hartish type thing, isn't it?
Exactly. It was very close to being that.
Jeez.
I was pretty winded at the time.
And that was all part of this Merv Griffin thing. What year was that?
It was 1976.
1976, and you began, I saw a TV clip of you singing Action by Sweet.
Action by the Sweet with the Mort Lindsay Orchestra, because they wouldn't let me, there was a union going on at the time, in a situation where they wouldn't let me go into Caesar's Palace with my own band. And that's sort of where Frank and I sort of parted ways at that time, so I couldn't bring him in, and then I had to use the Mort Lindsay Orchestra, and it was sort of weird doing Action with violins and stand-up bass and things like that.
Back there in the 1970s on the Merv Griffin Show in Las Vegas, and you're bringing a bit of that Las Vegas excitement to Vancouver tomorrow night, Thor.
Tomorrow night
at the World Kickboxing Championship. Thor versus DOA. Back to Doug Hepburn. What did he teach you? He's a Canadian.
That's right. Doug Hepburn taught me never to give up. Doug Hepburn had polio. He had one leg that was all shriveled up, yet he was able to train and become the world's strongest man. He won the Olympics for Canada. Nobody believed in him. He raised money by doing stunts at Capilano Stadium between innings of the baseball games. He never gave up. He believed in himself. He went out there and won for Canada, and he showed me the same kind of thing. He was also a great singer. He was a phenomenal singer as well. So he showed me how to sing. He showed me, not that I'm the greatest singer in the world, but he showed me how to sing. He showed me that he actually could bend dimes in his fingers.
Wow, and do you do that at all, Thor?
That one I could never master, no.
But he did teach you about the steel. He's the guy that taught you the secret of bending the steel, right?
Secrets of the steel, yep.
And speaking of the secrets of the steel and strength, Thor, your good friend Arnold Schwarzenegger is now the Governator. What is the Thor-Arnold Schwarzenegger connection?
Well, I think Arnold has done very well, I must say. He's gone in there, and he's the governor of California. And one time I just wanted Arnold to come up for a bodybuilding championship in Vancouver, and we had it all set. There was going to be a banquet. This goes way back, and he wanted to change because he was traveling to London, England, so he wanted to change the event, so he couldn't change the event. So I guess he was a little perturbed about that, but hey, I wish him all the best.
You didn't get a chance to meet him then?
Oh, I met him in New York one time. It was shortly thereafter. And I guess he was still angry about the situation where he wanted to change the whole physique contest, and I couldn't change the date. So anyhow, he saw me backstage. Joe Weider said, "Hey, come back, young lad," because I was 18 at the time. He said, "Come back, and we'll take to the photography studio. We're going to take pictures of you and all the Mr. Universe guys." And anyhow, Arnold steps in, and he saw me. He goes, "Hey, you out." And I says, "I'm not getting out." And there was a confrontation. Then Joe Weider stepped in. He said, now, Arnold, give the young boy a chance."
And of course, you were Mr. Canada and like Mr. Teen Burger USA as well, right?
Yeah, representing Teen Burger. Yeah, Mr. Teen USA and Mr. Canada.
That's what you were.
Yeah, and Mr. USA. I went on to win the Mr. USA championship as well.
And what were you doing? Like, what sort of, was it just the overall Mr. USA thing? Like, was there a particular category?
No, the overall. You win the tall class, which was my class, right? There's tall class, medium class, and small class, right? And then I won the tall class, and you go overall, and you win the overall thing, or lose, or whatever. But I won Mr. North America, Mr. USA, and Mr. Canada, and
no steroids either, right? No steroids. You did it the real way, the Canadian way.
The all Canadian way.
The Doug Hepburn way. What about Lou Ferrigno? Lou Ferrigno.
Yes, Lou Ferrigno. Well, he's another guy who has huge bone structure, so he could go in and win huge titles. The guy was just massive.
Did you bring him to Vancouver?
No, I didn't, but I competed against him twice. Once in Mr. Universe in Switzerland, another time in a Teenage Mr. America championship.
Do you have any ambitions for politics at all, Thor?
No, I don't. I was never a politician.
It's amazing the way you mention these names, like Joe Weider. Like you mentioned Joe Weider, the Weider. Joe Weider, or you mention Hawkwind, like these famous names, this matter-of-factly, Thor. Such a fascinating history that you have.
Yes, well, and traveling around and for so many years playing at so many places and different kinds of events, I've had the pleasure of meeting many people. I mean, guys like Rodney Dangerfield or the Osmonds, Tony Orlando and Don. I mean, on and on and on. And just recently, Henry Rollins and of course Joe from DOA. And I mean, it's a fantastic thing to be able to go out there and meet your brothers out there.
And you've had some disappointments too, Thor, haven't you? Like you were going to be the king of Kensington. You were going to be the king of Kensington. You were going to be in Full Metal Jacket, but you were shot down.
Hey, with success comes failure. If you can't accept failure and overcome failure, that's what Doug Hepburn always tried to teach me, right? Overcome your failure. I mean, you can't win every physique championship. Don't let it kill you. I mean, I used to go on stage after coming second in Mr. Canada, and I smashed the trophy on stage. I was a very poor loser. He taught me, hey, don't be a poor loser. Just win next time. Just keep wanting to win. So, hey, sure, I've had my ups and downs.
That's awesome. You smashed the trophy on stage.
That's right. What happens, you get on these diets, I would bulk up for the championship, and then about a month before, I go on just water, vitamin pills, and tuna fish for the championship, and just eat that. I mean, you start going nuts.
That's amazing. And actually, Thor, if people visit your website,
THORCentral.com.
THORCentral.com, there's a revealing interview with you done for Adult Video News where it says you lost your virginity at age 7, Thor.
That's correct, yes.
You dirty, dirty dog.
Why is that dirty, though? See, I'm very open with sex, right? I can walk freely along Wreck Beach and think it's very natural.
Well, you have nothing to be embarrassed about,
There's
Thor.
nothing to be embarrassed about. I think sex is a wonderful thing.
And you are Thor from THORCentral.com playing tomorrow night, right?
And I love the idea of event rock or arena rock, and that's what's going on tomorrow.
And that's basically what you began by doing. You combined like body rock, and rock and roll, right? Body rock. That's what it was, right?
It started off as body rock, yes.
That was the name of your band.
Yes.
And you combined weightlifting and rock and roll. The first person ever to do that. And I think right beside you is your webmaster right now.
That's right, ThunderGeek.
ThunderGeek.
He's here right now.
So maybe you could hand the phone to him for a
I'll
second.
hand it to him right now.
And then we'll come back to you to finish off your Thor, Canada's original heavy metal legend.
Thank you, Nardwuar. Here is ThunderGeek.
Thank you. And you are listening to CITR Radio, FM 102, Cable 102, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the NARDWUAR the Human Serviette radio show. And who are you? Are you there, sir?
Nardwuar, you are a silly, silly serviette, and this is ThunderGeek.
Who are you?
I am Michael Pilmer, and in the Thor world, I'm known as ThunderGeek, and I've just a friend of Thor. I met him back in the mid-'90s, and I thought, anything I can do to help this guy, I want to do it.
Now, the circumstances of you being in town here are absolutely incredible.
It's astoundingly weird. I'd set up a show for one of my idols, Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. I'm doing an art tour for him, and I set up a show months ago to be at the B-Fly Gallery here in Vancouver on Water Street, and we have an opening tomorrow night at 7, and just happened to be that Thor scheduled a show on the same day, and so here I am for the Devo show, and here I am for the Thor show. So it's really quite weird. And I knew you, Nardwuar, from the Thor thing, and then when you contacted me to try to get a Mark Mothersbaugh interview, you were kind of surprised I was the same person.
Yeah, it's incredible, like the Thor-Devo connection. I mean, who would ever thought Thor and Devo connected?
It's all the same world, Nardwuar. You know that. The things that we like, you and I, they're all connected. The world gets smaller and smaller.
Maybe we should plug the Mark Mothers exhibition that's happening tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow and for the next couple of weeks, and where is it again? It's the B-Fly Gallery.
The B-Fly Gallery is on North Water Street. I believe the address is 341.
341 Water Street, second floor.
Right, so the opening tomorrow starts at 7. If you can't get to the kickboxing thing right at 7, feel free to come out and see some of Mark Mothersbaugh's very strange almost diary pages, basically. They're postcards that he drew over the last, he's been doing them for 30 years, but these that are on display are the last several years of work, and he comments on sex and politics and the world in general, and he's a social scientist, and he's making observations on how screwed up our world is, how devolved it is, if you will. So, come out and see some weird artwork. Mark may be there, and I know that you're going to call him in about 15 minutes.
Yes, there hopefully, touch wood, will be an interview with Mark Mothersbaugh on the NARDWUAR the Human Serviette radio show, perhaps in about 15 or so minutes. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to phone in, 822-247-UBC-CITR, 604-UBC-CITR. But right now, back to you, Michael P. You are quite a Devo obsesso, aren't you? You really are a Devo obsesso.
I gladly embrace.
I mean, because Mark Mothersbaugh, of course, is from Devo, right? Yes. Actually, can you buy his stuff that's on display tomorrow night?
Sure, and it's all very affordable. His whole point of this tour is to make artwork affordable for students, first-time art buyers, not your typical art connoisseur. So everything is cheaper than he even framed it for. So he's really, this is a mission, that he's dedicated to.
And he's still pretty crazy and nutso, to let you take over and do stuff and let me do interviews, right?
Yeah, he appreciates the weirdness in the world, and he's pulled towards it like a magnet.
Because you were like a Devo super fan that latched on to the Devo, like you went as far as you could go, right? To Devo, right?
Well, they changed my life. They were the first band that taught me how to not trust authority and how to question religion, and so it was like I saw the light through them. So it's very cool that I get to actually talk to them like they're pals.
And of course, you have the Thor connection.
And Thor is the same thing. Thor taught me how to, love the women at an early age, and so Thor's up there with Mark Mothersbaugh. He's an idol, and I feel honored to not only be able to hang out with Thor and Devo, but to talk to you, Nardwuar. You're a man of many weird energies, and I appreciate your dedication to the cause.
Well, before we let you go, Michael P., I just want to ask you, how far have you gone in your Devo obsessoing? I noticed on your website you have Bob 2's bathrobe.
Oh, yeah.
Is that going a bit too far, getting a bathrobe?
Well, it got to the point where the Devo guys started challenging me on what I might collect. They're like, oh, you're a collector? Well, here, collect this. And I'd be like, okay. All right, I'll collect it. I'll put that speeding ticket that you got on my website. So, it just gets to be, I have to treat collecting with a sense of humor because I think it's a really funny hobby, and some people take themselves way too seriously with it. So it's a sickness, but I embrace it.
And if people want to check out that website and the Mark Mothersbaugh exhibition website or the Thor website, maybe you want to run those off there, please, Michael.
Sure. Go to Mark Mothersbaugh's main website. It's www.mutato, that's mutato.com. You'll find links there to his tour sites, both 2003 and 2004. And the Devo Obsesso site is my extremely obsessive fan site, and it's Devo-Obsesso, that's OBSESSO.com. And there you will be sick.
And ThorCentral.com, right?
ThorCentral.com, obviously, is a place where everybody can go get healed.
And tomorrow night at the B-Fly Gallery, again, it's 341 Water Street.
Yep.
Second floor, about 7 p.m. is the opening. Yep. Mark Mothersbaugh's postcards will be on display for 2 weeks as well, right?
That show runs till December 20th, so if you can't get down there tomorrow, please feel free to go on and see some of his very bizarre imagery.
Anything else you want to add to the people out there at all, Michael P., about Thor and Devo happening at the same night? You should give a plug again for Thor. Well, I guess we'll talk to Thor here for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to put him back on the line. I would just say, everybody, choose your mutations carefully, and choose them by going to see Thor and Mark Mothersbaugh's artwork.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, and doot-doodle-oot-doo.
You silly serviette, I'm going to put you back on the phone.
Almost, Michael. Doot-doodle-oot-doo.
Doot-doot.
And you're still listening to CITR Radio, FM 102, Cable 102, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the NARDWUAR the Human Serviette radio show. And Thor, are you still there?
Yeah, here I